coming to you live from sunny Arizona. The Steve Root Show is now live.
Okay, people, it's that time again. And you know what that means. It means you need to pay attention here because we got some really cool stuff to show you guys. First of all, how many of you remember seeing this print before? I sure do, because how could I forget doing 1,000 people in a single scene? Amazingly, I actually have a hard time with taking photo reference. I'm actually more comfortable with using my stuff for my scrap file. Like if I needed a little keyed in a winter outfit, I would look through the Sears catalog that I've had since 1980, that they no longer have, for shame. And I remember had a little keyed come over and pose for this little girl right here, but it didn't look anything like her. And the poses don't work out the way I see them in my head. So freakishly, I don't quite know how these things work out, but I remember I had somebody posing for this stuff right here. I don't remember how many people. All this stuff here has to be researched and cleaned off. We got to get it out of the mothballs here. This little kid, I had a good shot of his face, and I kind of changed the lighting on him. But God, the insanity that goes into this stuff, and of course you can't let it go, because it has to be right. So this was done a couple years ago? Yeah, a couple years ago. Being from Wisconsin, this is a memory from being a little kid myself, little dude. So all these things, you know, it comes from a very bizarre sense of imagination. But I wanted to show you that as Christmas approaches here. One more Christmas. It seems like I just turned my head and it's time for another live stream. Have you guys seen this right here? I think you've seen this thing right here. And it is showing you some of the things that are going on at our website. So if you want to look into that, you're more than welcome. Before it's Bison time, I want to show you, I've actually got a live model showing up here now, and this is one of the watercolors I did of her. I thought it was wretched when I first did it, but then I looked back at it and I thought, well, it's not too bad. It actually looks like her. You know, you saw this me painting this girl. I don't know if it's up on the website yet, but YouTube is going to have me, it's going to show me painting this girl outside at the White Cap Mountains, or whatever the hell they're called, here in Arizona. And anyway, she's a real nice girl. Her name is London, and she's very enthusiastic. That's nice for a change. Let's get into the studio announcements here, okay? God, look how time flies, you guys. November 29th, community announcements. And of course, we've got the requisite. I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. So I hope you did. Holiday deals in the Dude Studios. From now on to December 15th, we have our Holiday Pop-Up event going on. 4 online bundles. We've curated, yeah, that's a fancy word to say that, based on your feedback from a poll we sent out earlier this week. So we do pay attention to everything you guys tell us. So here's what we're offering here for this bundle. So anyway, listen now, or you're going to have to rewind this thing. 4 bundles, original art discounts. New pieces are going up every day through the 8th of December. I have no idea what day that is, nor do I care. The crowdfunding mystery bundle, book bundles. There's a lot of bundles here. I used to sleep in a trundle bundle. and a bundle to support the Comic Books for Troops organization. How can you go wrong for that? Answer, you can't. Holiday codes. Use the code Holiday Print 2025. I'll never get over that year. I'm still in the 1970s. With your order for a free Wonder Woman print and a signed book plate. Don't be caught without that. This is a really cool picture right here, and I killed myself doing it. Took at least 3 weeks, I would say. So all of this can be found in steverude.com / oh, here come the slashes again, Holiday Pop-Up. If you'd like to support what we do at the studio, take a look. Every order helps us know what you want to see more of and keeps the studio alive and kicking. Now there's a song from the 60s nobody knows, except me and the cool people out there. Patreon. For a Holiday Pop-Up, you can get an insider's look at our $25 Sundra tier for 90 days if you have over $50 of items in your cart. Remember, this is a virtual cart. Like I gotta tell you that, right? That's the same price of a stack of comics that vanish in an afternoon. Use code Patreon 2025 during checkout. Sounds easy, right? We want to make it easy for you guys. Nobody wants to go through nonsense when they're checking out. For these live art critiques each week, which is a lot of fun for me, and I think you guys too, post your art at the Patreon chat as a free or paid member, and I'll take a look. We're still looking for creative people to help out with the Rude Dude organization, and I'm still looking for help with the animation crew, which is a very specific person I'm looking for that is well versed in the business and art of animation and knows all the tech stuff, all the recent tech stuff that I want nothing to do with. For studio helpers, now this is a separate thing here, video edits, blog posts, in very simple tasks, like our friend Jose here, who's taken over the camera work. Email with Rude Dude Crew and mention whatever your strengths are. And as far as the animation crew thing, send your samples. I want to see what you guys can do. Before we get to the Bison, which I know you're all waiting for breathlessly, we're going to get some comments. We're going to get some comments going here from you guys that have posted some stuff from last week. And these are all good right here. This is from a Brandon Nebbit. I've been looking at a lot of guys like Kirby and JRJR, the way they'd carry a single line of action all the way through an arm or a leg. Even though anatomically that isn't correct, it gives their figures so much and intent, like you say, design. I've studied Kirby since I was in high school, actually before that, because he always floored me the moment I saw his work. And what Kirby's done is I call Kirby a hyper-impressionist. And he invented I don't know what you call it. It's like a graphic representation of muscles. And if you look at the way he puts them together, there's a lot of slashes, but they barely conform to any kind of real anatomy. But the fact that Kirby could do this shows what a genius he is, and shows what a genius he is. Tony Figueroa sent in some comments here. I love seeing the work people are submitting for critique. I wish everyone success with their work. Of course we do. It would be interesting to hear Steve talk about George Wilson. He was the cover artist for many Gold Key Comics titles such as The Phantom, Magnus, Robot Fighter, and Dr. Spectre. Well, George Wilson was a workhorse. He worked in gouache. He was one of these guys that came out of the illustrators field from the 1950s. And I think when 1960s came along, it wasn't a very loud call for illustrators. So they had to find work somehow. And George Wilson was picked by Gold Key Comics to do gobs and gobs of covers for these guys. So he must have turned out at least one a week to keep up with all these books right here. But it must have been a very busy schedule, but I bet he was very happy doing it. You had a comment? I keep hearing this from Jose. I think that means stop what you're doing and listen to me. But there's nothing to listen to. Farben, what inks does a dude prefer? My Speedball ink clumps into weird jelly-like blobs. Is this normal? Yes, it is if you leave it, if you leave it out in the air for too long. The Windex trick that old timers, I guess that's me, use was that so the ammonia in the Windex would dilute the ink without graying it. The Speedball ink smells a lot like ammonia, but I can't say that it has an amazing flow or that it is black. I like to use calligraphy brushes and Dr. Martin's Black Star Matte for pens. The whole pen thing is very interesting. If you listen to people comment, inkers, actual inkers that still use traditional tools on YouTube, they will talk about pen nibs like they want to kill somebody. Because if you get a batch of like 20 pen nibs, for some reason, and I don't know if this is the stupid so-called oil or grease that they give it to at the factory to make it last longer and not, what's the word for it? I can't think of the word. You guys know the word I'm talking to here. Rust. There you go. Thank you, Steve. You're welcome, Steve. I don't know if it's that, the actual stuff that goes over the pen nibs or what, but if you want to make a pen nib work, you've got to water it down to hell, this ink stuff. I put ammonia and water in there, and it still doesn't work. So us inkers have a lot of problems with something that we can't quite seem to solve. But they all bring up the coating on the pen nibs, and they all bring up the fact that out of 20 of them, 5 might work. That's pathetic, isn't it? Yes, it is. Twitter comments. What's all this stuff online here? Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all this stuff, my God. Like I said, I'm still in the 70s, so thanks for you and the Rude Dude crew for all your work. You've made a huge difference in my life. Well, isn't that nice? CM Saplak, best to you and yours. I'm thankful there are people like you in the world. That's very nice. Love your live streams and your critiques and lessons and your comments on art and life. That's the difference between the dude and every other thing out there, because I talk about philosophy too. Very important for the artist. It helps keep you mentally healthy, and it helps keep you balanced and with your eye on the target, which is we all want to be good artists. Alex Heindel, I'm thankful for the dude, a truly unique artist. Well, that's nice. TikTok comments. Loved the X-Men Children of the Atom when I was a kid. Beautiful art. Well, that's nice. Steve Rude is top shelf. Okay, I'll accept that. Love Alex Toth for all he did. Space Ghost is one of my faves, but dang, I never heard a single pleasant story told about him. That's probably true. And if you did, it probably lasted about a minute before he killed somebody, or somebody wanted to kill him. Seemed like a very hard person to work with despite all the great work he did. Yeah, Alex was a very disturbed person. And this goes back to the very, very beginnings of his career when he would associate with other people. From the HB days to working on, when he moved out from New York to California and got various things going on. Yeah, there's a lot of stories that he would find hard to deal with here. I don't think he got along with anyone. And Alex was his own worst enemy, of course. You know how those things go. Twitter comments, more on that. Somebody was asked to generate a list of the top 20 indie comic creators. It grouped them like, I haven't read this yet, so I'm looking at this for the first time. They grouped them in a chart with categories like established powerhouses and crowdfunding titans. And for each creator, it lists their key works, output, sales, impact numbers, well, that wouldn't include me, and a short note about why they matter. That's me. Steve is included in the lineup along with other major indie names, which basically frames him as one of the top long-term, high-impact, independent creators working. Well, it's always nice to feel wanted. Moving on here, you guys remember my Bison from last week? There's my Bison. These are my practice sheets right here. And here's another practice thing going on here that I didn't finish yet. We have a lot of guys that sent in cool stuff for the Bison contest, and I'm quite proud of these guys here. Let's start at the beginning here. a guy named J. Michael Whalen, not the Michael Whalen, but another J. Michael here. Let's put this on the screen here, but it says, Buffalo Simon, I couldn't make out the left side of the photo reference, so I just did the best I could. And I don't know what this is done with right here, but God, it almost looks digital to me. But a very nice job. It just needs these kind of things right here. Just need a little bit of attention, a little more attention to detail, like cleaning up the horns here a little bit. Everything else is good. They need to be symmetrical. They don't need to be chop, chop, chop. They need to be one curved C curve here, with a sense of the whole thing being one form. So you would have a highlight going like this, and then a shadow going like this, and that would make the form round. Briar Babcock here. This is interesting. Here's my stab, Steve. Lots of fun. Needed to break out the watercolors more often. That's what I like to hear. If I can get you guys back on the trail again, the happy trail of being an artist, that makes me happy too. This is one of the things, the prominent things that I want to do in the show here, is get you guys back in the saddle again. Tristan, this is a very interesting person who's doing his very best to help us increase our sales here. So quite the guy, apparently. So before we go, what in the spickle spit is this? Can you see that online there? It's his first try at watercolor, first try with ink, brush, and nibs. So that is truly a novice here. So just a new guy, happy to be here. Everyone's work is very impressive. I have to learn. I have so much to learn. Looking forward to working till the end to improve. We all have to start somewhere, right? This has actually got some interesting qualities to it. This looks like something that would come out of an Andy Warhol print. Bison has a human eye and a human mouth and a very funny shaped head. But if you've ever seen The Elephant Man, you know that this is quite probable in the world out there. Ben Gaston, like the guy from Beauty and the Beast, right? Sorry to post again, feel free, but I had to fix the shape of his jaw and mouth, still painted with transparent and opaque watercolor. This is very impressive work right here. What would I say about this right here? A lot of you guys are what I would consider to be kind of in the middle of your careers as far as accomplishment goes, because there's a lot to be said for this. This is the kind of stuff I would expect a place like Cal Arts to accept your work when you were like in your early 20s. And again, I don't know the age of these guys here, but they're either people that are young guys wanting to get into the field, or they're guys that are established but haven't really cracked out the paints that often. Again, that's one of my things I hope to do right here. So that's the Bisons for you guys to relish there. More to come here. J. Michael Whalen sent in another thing right here, a piece he did as a tribute to Dave Stevens. At first I thought this was an actual photograph, but in fact it's actually paint. I don't know what kind of paint, but it looks like a very credible job. He goes on to show me some other stuff right here. Now where would that be? Okay, this is a guy named Gabriel Stockton. At least I can pronounce that name. I'll read what he has to say here. I'm a watercolor artist and ambassador with Daniel Smith Watercolors. Recently, World has opened up the door. Dan Smith Watercolors has recently opened the door to sketch cards with Upper Deck. And I know the rude dude enjoys watercolor. I enjoy it like a sore tooth, but what can I say? It's very hard to master that stuff. But I do like doing it because it's a challenge, and I like anything that's a challenge. So Gabriel writes on here, I thought I would start by sharing 3 of my works of art before I started sharing the new adventure. And he goes on, this guy is apparently quite the traveler here. Most of my career has been from painting on location. Boy, I'm envious of that. Just returned from Bratislava, Slovakia. Apparently there's an international watercolor festival there. And it was very helpful to work from the actual video where I could find the best fire, the glow of the hammer, and move on the leather apron. The move, I guess that would be the motion. So he goes on to say, during one of the Steve Rude lives, he shares the importance of a good cape movement. So I watched the video over and readjusted this painting. For that, I'm grateful to the Rude Dude. Well, we're grateful to you for sending this in here, Gabriel. What I'm looking at here, since this is kind of the critique portion of the stream here, this just needs refinement. And it needs, what I would say is it needs a value scheme that denotes, when you've got a lit scene with fire, the best thing to do with a scene like that is to make it dark everywhere. So all you can see is the fire as a focal point. And this guy's got a lot of good stuff going on here, but it just needs refinement. And to get refinement, you either, I don't advise being a self-taught artist. I'm certainly not. The only reason I can do half of what I do is because I had really good teachers. And I continue to have them throughout my life. Not as it hasn't been for a while, but I've seen my share, and I've learned a lot of stuff. So Gabriel continues here with, apparently this is actually quite nice right here. This is a very good simulation of a photorealistic thing. If you look at it from a distance, it looks like a photograph. So in other words, he's got all the values right, he's got the cast shadows right, and he's got these guys in a backlit situation there. And it's quite good, actually. And he goes, sometimes I go over to this plane hangar and do some plein air sketches. On that particular day, this father and son were pushing out the plane from the shop. Nice father and son activity there. I've learned to do video and then later to do a screenshot. Well, you got one over me there. This is a half sheet of watercolor. So a half sheet would be 20 by 30. So there's a lot of editing where there was more planes in the distance, and on the far right, auto made it too busy. So I wanted to focus on the story of the father and the son pushing out the plane. One of the things I wanted to comment on was he edited the what was in reality. Now every artist of my ranking knows that you're selective about what you choose to put into the painting. If something doesn't work, you get rid of it. So that's half the fun of being an artist, is learning what you don't need to make the painting work. And this is right here, this is dear to my heart because I'm from the freezing climes of Wisconsin. This painting took second place in a San Diego art fair where there was over 1,500 entries. The goal was to make you feel cold in this winter scene of Idaho. Well, Idaho, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Chicago, don't even think about it because you're going to freeze your butt off. And I am so glad I don't live there anymore. But yeah, when you look at this carefully, I can see why he got second place here, because it very much signals the feeling of freezing cold. And if you guys are from anywhere near in the Midwest where it's freezing like that, about now actually, you can feel it. You look at it and you can feel it without even having to see a picture of it. Someone else sent in something new here. This is a guy named Roman Gubsky. And he says he'd love to hear some feedback and critique on my stuff. Thank you. All done with ink and watercolors. This guy is actually getting very close to being a professional artist over here. I would say if he works really hard and maybe finds ways to expedite the learning process, make it faster than he would if he was just on his own, I would say in a year's time he would be ready to go. He's well underway already, and he's got a style that's very reflective of the current trends of today, and it's a nice style. It's a kind of a cross Magna style that features a bit of a caricature in the figures. So that's it for the stuff you guys sent in. Now, I think the one thing, what?
We have a comment from Gabriel. Thank you so much for sharing my art on the show.
Oh, you're welcome, Gabriel. I was very impressed with what you did, and I like that you included comments and how you felt about your work, because you really did impart the feeling of cold. Now, you guys know I'm still working on a lot of new stuff here with my cartoon show, my Nexus cartoon show that is hopefully going to be made sometime before I'm dead. In the meantime, before I go over to my animation desk, you guys can see I've been working on the elevation plans for the Nexus house in Return to Earth. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and of course, there is a basement level that I had to figure out here too. We call this Level 0. This is where he stores his ships, and it's a science room of sorts, and it's where he finds out how he can test his powers through various mechanisms that show up on a screen, actually showing exactly his power output, things like that, and how much energy is drained from him, and how potent the energy is in the first place. So that's a lot of fun. Let's go over to the animation desk here, and I'll show you the latest stuff I've been working on here. And before we get into that, this is a redo of Level 3. I had to completely redo this level to make the things fit with the top floor of the building here. Some of you remember this from last time. This is the big broad scheme that I did with their house. You got to figure this stuff out, guys. So this is actually a bunch of head turns. Okay, so there's a total of 7 shots right here, and I learned from working on stuff and studying stuff for my show is it takes about 6 frames to turn a head from here to there. So that's 6 drawings. I put 7 in just to cushion it a little bit more. So let's do some flipping here and show you guys what it's all about. These are actually much harder than they look. But he's going to turn his head like that. We'll do a little slower. Everyone does this too fast on YouTube, not me. So 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. There's the mid drawing right there. That's exactly the middle of the head turn right there. So from here to there, there to there to there, and the last 3 are like this. 5, 6, 7. Can you guys see that? Okay. I'll do it fast, right? So that's good. That's what it's going to look like on screen when it's actually timed right. So that's the Nexus stuff right there. And we've got a Sunder Peel head turn too. But I find they're harder than they look. But then you guys know that already. Sunder Peel's going to turn her head and she's going to give people a look, okay? And you guys know that look. Anyone who has a girlfriend knows what I'm talking about. And you girls know what I'm talking about too. She's going to go from here to there. So she's got that little smirk thing going on there. So from there to there. I even put a new outfit on her there. So I had to find a way to do the in-between drawings here. And let's see if there's an actual in-between drawing. I think it would be this right here. Dot, 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 dot. So she's got that attitude thing going on there. This is harder than it looks. I think her nose is too funny there. I'll have to fix that later on. But this is what you do when you're animating. And when you're doing head turns, they're a challenge for anybody. They certainly are to me. So we got from here to here. You guys see that okay? This at least looks like her. But she's got to change her facial thing going on there. And this is a fairly fast movement. I think this is more like, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a fairly, it's not a fast movement, but it's one less than the normal 6 that goes into a kind of a head turn. So she goes from there to there. Let's see if I can flip most of this stuff a little better here. Okay. This is a finger trick right here, guys. Dot, 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 dot. Sound effects are free, no charge. So that's the latest from the animation desk, which I'm always working on. And if you guys, like I've mentioned to you guys, if you've got the animation skills that I'm looking for, and believe me, you need to be good, really good. You need to be actually Disney level journeyman, or at least a very young genius. And so we're going to step back to the main desk here. And I would say the last thing I want to show you guys is another peek at this painting that I did. What was this done here? 2019? 2020? I don't even know. Let's check it out here. When did Steve Rude do this right here? I don't know when Steve Rude did this because his name is cut off. But is there a lot of glare in this right here?
No, very little.
Okay. Is that better or worse?
Oh, that's a lot better. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're making our adjustments here, folks. This is real life video here, so expect mistakes and expect real life situations. I had a lot of fun with this. You know, once they look so imposing and like you would never be able to get through something like this. But because I have this crazed imagination, and when it comes to snow scenes and ice skating, it's just stuff that I experience. So I put all my memories into these scenes right here, and it actually becomes kind of transcendental after a while. It stops becoming a labor, and it starts becoming something you feel like you're actually in the scene painting it, and you're just there to take a brush and take some color and make these things come to life. So it's just a crazy thing. Anyway, this is part of the Patreon thing that we're looking at here for you guys that want to join up. So that's going to be it for this week's live stream. I'm going to show you one last thing that I want to show you. It's a page from the latest Nexus stuff because it's kind of it's halfway done, and I know you guys like to see that stuff. This is, if you last saw our beloved couple here, Nexus and Sandra Peel and little Harry, their kid, you saw a scene of mass destruction. So we are continuing the scene of mass destruction here. And I won't explain what's going on here because I think it's probably something that you guys can figure out on your own, and God knows you will when you get the book. But this is really turning out to be something I'm totally immersed in now. And the people in scenes, I've always felt like they're real to me, but by the time I'm up to page 47, I'm actually in 48 right now. I'm well almost to the halfway point, and that means I'm really starting to get into the story in a very intimate kind of a way. And once I erase these pencil lines, it'll probably be even more clear. But it's and the other funny thing that's going on here that I never thought that I would see is last minute changes from the thumbnails. I look at the thumbnails and sometimes I will completely disobey them, if you want to put it like that. I won't pay attention to them. I'll actually have a different idea of how I want to construct this scene. And that's what's going on currently that I've never experienced before doing comics. These things are starting to tell me more than what I'm capable of knowing myself. And I just kind of listen to it and take it from there. But this is all the line work right here that's going on. And eventually you're going to see all the blacks put in. And I told you guys one of the ways I do that is by having Janelli reduce this thing to a thing about that big. And then I'm going to take my marker and go over that Xerox copy and try to figure out where the blacks go. Not too much, not too little, just right, like Baby Bear's bed. So this is the last thing I wanted to show you guys. It really gets interesting after this. I've actually done the page after this, but I'll save that for next week. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sending in your stuff. Let's do more critique stuff next week. Let's keep the Patreon members going strong here because that's really what the backbone of the support of what we're dependent on is coming from. So very much appreciated that. Next week, I don't quite know what I'm going to do, but if you want to write in and give me some suggestions of what you might want to see other than the ordinary stuff, like the critiques and all that stuff and the letters, let me know. A lot of you guys like to see me do artwork in front of your faces, so we can certainly arrange that next time, okay? Give me an idea of what you might want to see, and I'll take care of it. So as we sign off, as we always do, for another Steve Rude live stream, work hard, be good, and I want you to achieve all your goals. Work hard for that. Take care.